executives. And as normal, we have our CEO, Richa Mida, on this call, as well as our CTO, Mr. Rachit Pranami. Uh, so the just before I give the floor to Richa and Rachit, just to give you a little background about the motivation behind this particular session was we did one implementation for our customer, and they were extremely happy about our few processes from the integration point of view, which we built just to streamline their whole flow of settlement for the personal injuries law firm. And I think it's worth for everyone to see that. And I mean, that's where I keep on saying that sometimes very few small steps can make a huge difference. So I will not steal Richa and Rach's thunder, and I'll give floor back to Richa. I think you wanted to basically give the overview of the whole connection, right? So I'll let you
Right,
know.
right,
Thank you.
right. So yeah, as Vikram mentioned, like how it actually started, like just wanted to give like we were like after implementing like after doing like hundreds of implementations, we were just looking at like the inefficiencies in handling the PI cases. So we were like, even after using the different kind of softwares, they are still switching back to Excel because the solution didn't meet their needs. So after a lot of feedback, I mean, of course, this customer helped us a lot. But after a lot of feedback, we decided to build something that truly streamline basically the settlement process from file wine to the entire settlement process, how the expenses comes, how the liens damages comes. We may not be able to dig into the all aspects of it, but it will give you a fair enough idea to how we solve that problem. So let me quickly share my screen to show what we have built. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yeah, I think yeah, now we can see that.
Okay, so I'm into a file wine org. So basically, what we are going to do is we are going to add an expense first and how that expense flows into law accounting. And then we will see how the settlement would work from there onwards. So let's quickly, and this is just a standard file wine system. It's just like if you have any classes or anything like that. So I put an expense for $200. Let's put one more. All right. So this is the basically our matter on the law accounting side. So let's look into the expenses that we just brought in. So it brought two expenses, one for $200, one for $56. So now what we will do from the settlement point of view, like you just need to click on this add new settlement button. It will pull up a screen like this all, and this is basically the legal people who are still just trying to figure out how much the amount would look like, how much the disbursements would look like. It's not, the actual check has not been received. That's why when you're looking into the screen, they will never have the option to receive any payment. It's just like, okay, if we make $10,000 out of this case, how the system would work. So then you can see you can add all the expenses. All you need to see, okay, let's see what my expenses are. You can just click here, hit save, and then I'll before I jump into, we have like settlement split piece also. So where for example, if you have this $10,000 actually came for, let's say for example, let's say for wrongful death and and anything like that. So
So
let's
multiple
see.
people involved in that accident. So I guess so you have parent, for example, and the child, and you can have those kind of splits too.
Yeah, we can have those kind of split too. Or I'll just do split two. I'll just mark it because we had $10,000, so let's do it $6,000. That out of that we have 4,000 for this, 6,000 for this. Hit save. So now if you see, I have like two splits here, one for wrongful death and one which I marked as split two. So if you go into the wrongful death, so you can choose like, okay, what expenses I want to choose. Does it need to go 100% or can I split? So I can choose like, okay, let's choose these, but I don't want the split to go 100% in this. I want 50% because the 50% needs to go on the other side. So you choose 50%. In the similar way, you can have the medicals lienscape come over from Filewine, and then you can just include it in the similar way. So you have $228 which goes here. Then let's say split two. We say okay, so let's choose those. Now even those you will have like a 50% because the 50% was the remaining one. So you should just choose that there. So it gives you a total of total tabs total 456. So it included both of them here. So then we have our this section tells like, okay, what is my attorney, how much my attorney will get. Right now we just have one attorney, but let's say if that share goes to different attorneys, like what is your originating attorney, what is your primary attorney, who is your working attorney, you want to split that can be easily set. And all it will do is like 30% goes to this attorney. So I just choose like, okay, 100% goes to this attorney. Then the remaining proceeds, if we want to go, and this is just for client or any other pay. For now, let's just choose like, for example, we have June, and I'll say okay, 100% should go to this. So this is basically this screen in nutshell. You don't need to go anywhere. All you're doing is you're doing all your calculations. So this is we did for split two, but if I need to do it, same thing for the wrongful death. I need to do okay, what is my percentage? And this can be defaulted too if you want to. It's just we did not default it. So then you get and as Vikram mentioned, if it has to go to different clients, that can be also be done here. So let's hit save.
And just one question before you jump on the next step. Uh, so medical liens and your expenses, they flew from Filewine. And Rachit, the question is like, is it real time seeing the data, or like if I entered expenses there, will that be coming after a certain time? I mean, what is the like the delay
Yeah,
there, or
so
it's all?
no, currently, like we have set up the process two types, right? So currently, Filewine does allow like webhooks, right? So what webhook is like, as soon as any event has occurred into Filewine side, right? So it will trigger a post request to a particular endpoint, right, which for which we have created our own REST classes, right? So as soon as some event occurs into the file one, it triggers the that particular invokes the REST API. So as soon as that event occurs, so that comes to our like Salesforce, right, our log counting, and then it automatically creates the record. And for few of the objects and few of the records, right, for example, time entries, right, if we talk about like the TM and time and material flow, so that particular piece in terms of the integration, that needs to be invoked from Salesforce side, right? So for that particular, we need to schedule the batch to pull that particular things, right? So because like for those couple of objects, right, like File1 does not allow webhooks, so that was the primary reason, right? So and this integration is pretty much seamlessly there, right? And like if there are any other custom objects that we need to add, any custom sections they have created, so we do not need to modify any code, or we do not need to write any separate thing for that. It is just all configurable. They just need to set up inside the law counting, right? So what object in law counting they need to use, what is in the custom section they have created, and all the fields mapping needs to be defined in the custom metadata.
Perfect.
And
So in
all the custom sections flow real time, right? Apart from the time entry and other objects that needs to be.
perfect. So this expands liens and medical just for this
Yes, yep.
particular
These are
audience.
custom section.
It's
Yeah.
all coming in real time. So the entered expense there, that will flow immediately to law counting. Enter lien there, it will come immediately. So if they want to generate settlement here, they just need to immediately they can see all the data. All right. So
Yeah,
Richa, sorry, go ahead. So
yeah,
now
and one, yeah.
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
One other question that Rachit, I think, what about if there is any error? Will they be notified? Like, okay, the system has, there is something,
Mhm.
if the
So,
system breaks,
so
what will happen?
right. So, if something breaks, right? So, like there is no provision at File1 end that they resend that particular webhook again, right? So they send just webhook once. But if there is any error occurred while syncing a specific webhook, so what we do is like we do store the integration logs, right? Each and every log that we are storing inside the log counting side. So anytime any error occurred due to any apex code or any mapping issue or any validation error, right? So that because in real scenarios these kind of things can happen, right? And so for that particular piece, right, so admin can subscribe to report and they can look at if there are any error occurred, right? So if there are any, so we do provide the batch functionality, right? So that can be done like manually or like daily, like fortnightly, right? So that it can pull all the events, right? So that got missed while during the webhook.
Makes sense.
All right.
Makes
So
sense. So just
quickly, before you go to the next step, so currently all the expenses, liens, medical came to the system. You just simply enter settlement data into that. You basically split the data between the attorneys and who the if there are multiple pay for that settlement, you enter that data. One another question from the licensing point of view, just to make sure that everybody is clear about that. So this particular scheme which got open from Filevine, that does not need law accounting licenses, right? It's a that is if they have Filevine license, they can use this particular screen, right? So I just want to make sure that people are not getting confused. This is not basically, of course, built by law accounting, but they do not need law accounting licenses to access that particular screen. All right,
correct.
perfect. Sorry, let's go back to this.
So now, once the attorneys or the paralegal has entered all that information, we have like on the settlement itself, you have this hyperlink that says update detailed settlement, right? What does it mean? So this screen will definitely need a license, and what it will do is it will allow you to receive that payment, right? So let's say now the attorney has finalized, like initially they were playing like, okay, we will get 15,000, 12,000, 10,000, whatever they have finalized. Then you have been notified, the accounting team has notified, and they got the check, right? So now I can just say, okay, I have received the payment. So I can say, okay, let's receive the payment. And now the beauty of the screen is you can actually may have received like multiple checks, or you may already have brought that check in through the bank direct connect through your integration with the bank. So you can either match or you can enter those check information into the system. For now, I'll just use one check, but if you want to add multiple, that could be added. So you can add any check number that you have received, you hit save. So now you hit save here. So the system will record those receipts over here. and you will have the two settlements which are created here. If you want to see the statements, like how the statements would look like, you can, before you generate the transactions, like before you finally do all the disbursement checks, if you want to see the statements, you can just click here. It will show you the detailed statement. Okay, the total recovery amount is this, attorney is getting this much amount, and all these like settlement statements are customizable. You don't, whatever your firm uses, it can use that. It can be customized based on that. And then this is my second one. Same thing, you have the settlement split over here too. Now coming back, now we are ready to do, we verified like, okay, settlement statements look good, client does okay, we are good with uh, generating checks. You can hit generate transactions here. Wait, yes. So what it will do is it will generate the disbursements for that particular settlement split, and it will show you any descriptions or any custom information that you want to bring that could be brought over. But this says like, okay, this is for the client, this is the internal attorney fee which is going to the law firm, this is the expense reimbursement we are getting.
Beautiful.
So in nutshell, just one screen. And one of the other feature that we had in that screen that I completely forget, like if you want to withhold some expenses, liens and damages, you are still not sure to cover, you are still under negotiation with that, so that we can withhold those expenses or liens too in that screen. Vikram, any questions?
No, I mean, on your last point where you say like withheld, I mean, I think the use case is like you are running a mass tort, for example. You may have multiple settlements with multiple people, and you are putting certain expenses, and sometimes you don't want to put certain expenses in the settlement when you're doing those settlements. So you have that for later. You can add them for the another settlement. So that's what
Right,
it is all available. So
right, right.
perfect, perfect.
And if there are like any external expenses that you feel like, okay, they didn't come over or they should have been added, you always have the ability to add that. You can always add any additional expenses. We call them as external expenses. Those could be added from the same screen itself.
Perfect. Perfect. I think that's pretty much it. So just to summarize, all the expense, liens, medical, all the data, we just pulled it directly, immediately into our law accounting. And then from the settlement screen, user just need to enter this information, and that screen, they can split between the attorneys, they can have multiple settlements, they can have multiple pay in one single screen. And once they get the settlement signed off, they can, for that particular settlement, they can just simply with one click they can generate all the accounting transaction, cut the checks, and close the deal. That is actually pretty nice. All right, so I think that's all it is. So thank you very much for walking us through. For any other like, if audience does still have some questions or anything else, they have some use case in their mind, feel free to send us your questions, sales@lawaccounting.com, and we'd love to answer your questions. And apart from that, I think we're good. Richa, anything else you want to add, or Rachit? I mean, if we're good, then I'll close this up.
No, I think that's it. Thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us today. Yeah.
See you
Yeah.
next week. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.